Now, let me just give an overview of subscription, what subscription does, and so on and so forth. So now we are going back here to show our subscription. We have this subscription called Visual Studio Enterprise subscription. Can you see it? I'm opening this subscription now. So under this subscription, we have different resources. Resource groups. You have different details that you can note of, and one of it that you can see shown that is shown to us mainly here is the cost per resource. So when you are coming to a subscription, one of the things you should expect is uh, cost processes. You understand? Cost processes and so on and so forth. For instance, under this subscription, under a subscription, you can check the billing. You can track your billing. What I mean by track your billing, look at, for instance, let's look at these details here. This is a spending rate and our forecast. This purple side down here is how we are spending, our rate of spending, and the forecast is it that by on the 12th of this month, this is what is likely that your cost will likely be. For instance, our spending as at today, is what is showing here as we have a starting credit of $150. A credit remaining is $30, and it's telling us that a forecast as at tomorrow. Is it tomorrow on the 13th, on the 12th? It's telling us that our forecast will move from what it is now. We're having another forecast of $139. So all these details, you can find all these details in your subscription. You can check, okay, which resources are consuming my my fund, and so on and so forth. Let me just click on view details so you can look at how the cost analysis look like in under the subscription. Um, sorry, it's still loading. Okay, like now you can see the cost analysis of this subscription. You can see how it is. For instance, here you have the service name and the cost of that service for this month. You can check here location if you want to categorize it by location. US East. I think last week I talked about regions and Microsoft different regions. I talked about that last week, so you can look at this and see that, okay, what is my cost? Is my cost coming from one particular region and or more than another region? You can look at that under this location, and you can look at it also based on resource group. Which resource group has more costs? Like under this, you have like 2 or 3 resource group, and we have higher costs coming from the personal resource group, which we will come back to look at later. And here we can look at it based on the service, saying that, okay, which services are consuming more? We are having here, we are having storage account consuming $32. We are having app service consuming $27. We are having database Postgres database consuming $18. So these are the things that you see under subscription, and you can say, okay, I can view these things, make my decisions on it. What are the resources I need to remove? What are the resources I need to reduce the tear, or I want to increase the tear, or and all those things. So all these things really helps the business or enterprise to make right decision. That's what majorly this cost analysis does for us under the subscription. Okay, that being said, let's go back to subscription and talk about another paramount thing about subscription. Let's talk about resource group. So these resource groups. Okay, yeah. So these resource groups. So under the subscription, you can see here that we have a series of resource groups. So all these resource groups houses one or two resources. Each resource group contains minimum of one or several resources depending on the kind of resources you want to associate to it. Let me now give you an instance of why a resource group is paramount. Okay, for instance, you want to create a resource. You want to create a resource in micro on Azure. One of the parameters you will see there, firstly, is what resource group do you want to create it under. So let me just try to create one virtual machine, for instance. So can you? I'm coming to loading. So you can see when you want to create a resource, it's going to ask you the first question: which subscription are you creating it under? Under the subscription, it's going to ask you which resource group are you creating it under. Can you see that we have those series of resource group I mentioned, I showed you here? It's going to tell you which resource group do you want to create that resource under, and so on and so forth. Please, do we get to that extent? Good. So that's how it works when it comes to resource groups. Also, under resource groups, you have resources. I just want to give an overview of the resources in this subscription. You have series of resources here. You have over 60, you have 65 resources in this subscription, but all those resources are categorized based on their um, resource groups. For instance, when you come under here, you can say, okay, I want to see the resources that are under personal resource group. You can see the resources under it. So after that, you can now choose to say, okay, I want to see resources under resource group. Let's say we are looking at Victor resource group, and we say, okay, under Victor resource group, this is what we have here. We have a DNS here under Victor's resource group. So that's how it's worked under subscription and management group. Another thing again I want us to look at in terms of subscription, you have what is called um, you have billing. Let me show you billing. Yeah. So under billing, what you have under billing, you have what is called invoices, payment method, and so on and so forth. So look at. Let me just show you what an example of this it means. So um, billing just talks about what you have spent, you're spending for this month. Like for instance, I've showed you under the cost analysis many of the things that have been done and so on and so forth. And I can come to my billing and say, okay, I want to get my invoice for last month, everything we spent last month, and also talk to my management that, okay, this is the invoice for last month. I think we spent $50,000 or $10,000 or $7,000. I can show you under my invoices. I can download it and export it as a CSV file so I can share it to the management or use the data to make right decisions going forward. Also, it talks about something called payment method. Payment method, I may not be able to show some things as the administrator alone that can see it. Do you understand? So payment method means that do you want to pay using your card, do you want your credit card, your debit card, or you want to pay using different methods? That's what you can see under the billing. You have the partner information. Partner information talks about, okay, partner details, that's Microsoft partner, and so on and so forth. Also, you have external services. That means if you have any external services in Microsoft that external services different that are existing in Azure that you are using. And an example of them is you using Datadog on on this. Let me just show you. It's an external service. it's not really controlled by Microsoft. Can you see it? It's not like it's owned by Microsoft kind of thing. You understand? It's an external service, so you can bring it into your subscription to use, and so on and so forth. So you are going to get your invoice for that. So you have external invoices and so on and so forth that you pay monthly. Please note the payments for these resources and services on Azure are paid monthly. Hear this: at the end of the month, you are going to get an invoice of your spending for that month. Every cost that you acquired for that month, you get the invoice at the end of the month. Then you are expected to make your payments and you move from there. So that's another thing about subscription. And also, another thing again is that in under subscription, we have different kind of subscription types. So when I'm talking about subscription types, I'm talking about uh, the kind of deal or 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 the kind of agreement you make with Microsoft. I'm talking about Microsoft Azure now, not AWS. So in Microsoft Azure, subscription types are mainly based on the kind of deal you have with Microsoft. One of it is pay as you go, which is widely used. Pay as you go means that uh, you have $100 on your subscription. Like, let me give a good number. You have like $1,000 on your subscription in Azure. Once your resources gets to you have spent that $1,000, immediately it is done, all your resources in Azure will stop working. Please, you get that concept. That is what is called pay as you go. Like now, you have 10 virtual machines that are running. You have $1,000 on your Microsoft subscription. You now choose to do pay as you go, and all of a sudden you have high usage of your virtual machines. You increase the tier from basic to premium and so on and so forth. And at the end of the day, you're having high cost implication on it. After that, you definitely you finish your your funds in the subscription. Once it is done with, the next thing that happens is that Microsoft is going to stop all those VMs until when you pay in again and they started deducting the funds for the virtual machines that you are using and so on. So that goes with every resources you have in Azure. So that is the first tier, which is called pay as you go. The second tier is enterprise agreement. Enterprise agreement is when an enterprise, like now, an enterprise, let me look at a good example of it, like Tesla. Tesla has now made an agreement with Microsoft. So their payments may be done yearly. They may make an agreement that, okay, I want the payments to be done uh, monthly. I want the payments to be done quarterly and so on. So that's an agreement between an enterprise and Microsoft. Do you understand? So that is an enterprise agreement. That is not an entity to Microsoft. It's not like me and Microsoft making an agreement. It's a big company and Microsoft making an agreement. So the next thing I want to talk about is Microsoft customer agreement. So I, as a customer, I can walk up to Microsoft and say, okay, Microsoft, this is the kind of agreement I want to make with you. And they have something called their business partners. Microsoft are business partners. I can speak with one of or two of the business partners and we can reach an agreement. And based on that agreement, it's between me and Microsoft, and that is done. So I pay based on our agreement. That's and the agreement can now determine the kind of resources I can use. Like for instance, if I agree that okay, I'm going to be paying this monthly, the kind of virtual machines I want are basic virtual machines, meaning that anybody using my subscription cannot create anything different from a basic tier virtual machine. because of the agreements I had with Microsoft. Those are personal agreements with Microsoft. That's Microsoft customer agreement. And the next thing I want to talk about is free tier. So a free trial version is the version I'm going to explain that to you. I spoke about it last week. You see, like for instance, me as a student, a student can come up to Microsoft and say, okay, I want to create a, a subscription for free. So what Microsoft will give me, they will give me a free $200 subscription for the next 1 month. That's a free tier. So I can use it to I can test any the virtual machines, test the resources, test everything that Microsoft can offer to me. I can test everything on Azure. I want to test how policy works. I want to test how soft storage account works. I want to test how different resources work using that free trial. It's just $200 that, and I ought to be done with it in 1 month. That's 30 days. After that, I'll be charged for any resources that I'll be using. Please, do we understand? I'll definitely be charged for any other resources that I will be using. So after my free trial, which is usually 1 month, I'll be charged for any other resources I'm using. And also, for instance, I I exhausted my $200 early enough before the end of the 30 days. I'll be charged since when that $200 is done. Please, do we get to that concept? Okay. Uh, thank you very very much. So that's about that. And so